Alright everyone, it's time for Vermont Issues episode 42, 7 days gobbling up the propaganda about Vermont trolling. That is the toxic comment study that was made by Discuss and Wired, which not exactly the most credible journalistic outlets you could think of. Remember a couple of weeks ago they said, oh, Vermont has the most trolls online per capita or something like that, and they looked at toxic comments using the Discuss function. And they said, well, Vermont has the most of these. One of these things is Vermonters tend to be more matter-of-fact in their manner of speaking. We're more literalistic, not so much given over to censoring ourselves. Yeah, it's a good state in that sense. Vermonters will tell it like they see it and not hold back to keep you from being offended. You know, poor little babies at 7 days. Wow, wow, wow. Very sad. Part of the legacy media's new strategy is saying, oh, everyone who disagrees with us, their comments are toxic. Everybody who doesn't like us, Russian bots or trolls or something. This is just straight propaganda. Just because some corporation labels your commentary to be toxic does not mean it's actually toxic. What actual measurements are they using to determine this number? Who knows? Could be anyone who swears a little bit. No, that's a toxic comment. Anyone who says something that others tend to disagree with. Anyone who wants a debate as opposed to just sort of saying, oh yeah, what a wonderful article or something like that. That seems to be what it's probably about. I can't imagine that 12% of all comments coming from Vermont are some permutation of diarrhea jokes or insert racist quip here. I just can't, I'm sorry, but I'm not seeing it. Because it doesn't make sense. You go to a Discuss comment section, and you will see people that are obviously there just to troll. But it's not, you know, 10, 12% of the comments that are there to do that. A lot of times people assume that somebody is trolling because they have an unpopular opinion. That seems to be fashionable today. You wouldn't believe how many times I comment on some article on, usually some garbage tabloid like Salon or some propaganda page like Being Liberal. You leave a comment there and point out how the story that they're pointing to itself is totally fucking wrong. And they say immediately a bunch of other people say, oh, Russian bot, you know, you have privacy mode on your account so that people don't continuously bother and harass you. And you don't want people that you don't know anything about constantly going through your pictures. That makes you a bot account or something like that. They don't even know who you are. And yet they say that you're a closed-minded troll or something like that. It's just so dumb. This is what we've devolved into. Increasingly, people are like on the left are so moralistic. They don't know how to have a good time. They don't have a sense of humor about anything. I can remember when they did. I can remember when it was the far right. Didn't have any sense of humor whatsoever. Like, we're talking the Bush era. Like the late Iraq War era into like, maybe the first couple of years of Obama before the midterms of 2010 or something. In this period of time, it was the right wing. They didn't know how to have fun. They didn't know anything about comedy or satire. They attacked music. You remember the shit with the Dixie Chicks after 9/11? Yeah, that was a wonderful time. Oh, the FCC needs to slap down these songs, and the government needs to save us against these pinkos that are anti-war or atheistic. They don't praise Jesus. We need more mangers in the public square. And they were very dry and boring and moralistic and traditionalistic. Now it's totally flipped on its head. Now it's the new right spouts off all the funny memes, has all the funny jokes, is sitting there chuckling at the world burning, and the left gets all freaked out and moralistic. Oh, clutch our pearls, we gotta stop people from making toxic comments, aka anything that we disagree with. And 7 days should be ashamed of itself. This is not corporate legacy media, it's just old guard media. There's a little bit of a difference between the two. This is like this small town sort of Vermont propaganda that you're talking about. Not some mega corporation or something like that. And even they've swallowed the propaganda. Well, you should know better than to automatically assume that because Discuss and Wired say something is so, doesn't mean it's so. Did you even bother to check the methodology behind what they labeled a toxic comment? Are we talking about actual toxic commentary, like literal trolling, like an active conscious attempt to troll? Or are we talking about, oh, somebody said something potentially offensive, therefore that must automatically be a toxic comment. No, maybe they are thoughtful. Maybe they arrived at those conclusions after thought, and you're just assuming that they're a troll because they kind of sound like one to someone who's boring like you. That's what I think. Probably more than half of the comments they're labeling toxic fall into that category. I'd bet anything that that's what their methodology causes. These freaks in the legacy media don't know anything about reality, have no sense of humor. By the way, if the right wing wants to win, it needs satire and humor and comedy. It can't get boring like the left. Any movement that becomes boring loses its edge. They become very professional. They're not willing to like rock the boat. They don't want to insult others. They don't want to say anything non-professional. They don't want to be outsiders. They start off as outsiders at the end of a dying paradigm, and they're the cool kids. And they insult others, and they say, well, convention is, you know, stupid and stuff like that. Then the new paradigm starts. They become more established. And then they start wearing the leisure suits and saying, oh, let's check the stock market and all that boring nonsense that destroys the next movement on. That would be a grave warning of extreme importance to people in the new right. I'm not talking about, the alt-right's already gotten boring. Some of these people, they're too busy talking about their philosophical ideas of what does or does not constitute right to crack a good joke once in a while. New right doesn't have that problem. Some of the general anti-left groups that you see don't have that problem. Others do. In all honesty, they do. They sound like a bunch of boring, like, establishment neoliberals or something. And that's why people are going to get off of their groups and say, well, what's the point? It's not funny anymore. No, you started winning by sowing chaos, by cracking jokes about meme magic and Pepe. That's really how the right won the last election. If you give that up and go lamestream, you won't win anything again. Your movement will end up collapsing and get reabsorbed by the neocons and neoliberals anyway. Not every comment that's online is toxic because you disagree with it. And that's really what this is about, isn't it? People who are easily offended. Some corporation that wants to be very dry, very PG, or even G-rated. It doesn't want people to say hell. You know, it doesn't want people to crack jokes because that's not professional. Well, what's the point of living in the world? If the internet's not the place to go for satire and ridicule and a little bit of chaos now and then, where the hell are people supposed to go for it? They're not getting it on radio. They're not getting it on cable. What they're getting there is people with 7-figure salaries, with 6-figure salaried staff lying to you all day. It's boring. That's why it's dying off. That's why 7 Days will have problems too. They keep gobbling down this sort of swill. That's about all. Peace out.